aga, Ateneo de Naga student leaders. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. And of course, I also greet the students from all over the Bicol region and the country as well. And I understand that we also have a presence of student affairs and services professionals, thanks to our good cooperation with the Philippine Association of Practitioners of Student Affairs and Services, PAPSA's Region 5 chapter. To everyone, welcome to this workshop, and I hope that you will learn something from us, from your resource speakers on virtual activity organizing. And with me are Vons and Jeriel to help me in the workshop later on. All right. Are you able to see my my presentation? Can you confirm if you're able to see
Yes, sir.
my
Yes,
yes. Thank you. All right. So there. To start the day right, masyado tayong seryoso, no? Probably we can have a little game. All right. Are you familiar with the 4 picks 1 word? 4 picks 1 word. Familiar kayo doon? Have you played that on your mobile phones?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for your response. From time to time, you get to respond to my questions, please. So I'll be showing you a slide of 4 pictures, and you guess the correct word being described in the pictures. All right. And I'd like you to participate via chat, or you can also speak, no? By unmuting yourself, of course. Okay, so you can speak or just type in your guess in the chat. And probably because I cannot see the chat box, all I can see is the PowerPoint presentation. Maybe Daniel, okay? Daniel, can you help me out? Can you check whether our participants have guessed the right word?
Yes, sir.
Or you can just say their guesses. All right. So let's have the first slide. This is 4 picks 1 word. Here we go. All right. Anyone? Do you have guesses on the chat box, Daniel?
Yes, sir. They are actually responding, and I have seen time management, multitasking.
Multitasking. That's actually the the word, you know. Multitasking. That's one of the challenging tasks in organizing. You do this when you manage a lot of activities, but time management is actually very tied to multitasking. So those are good guesses. Thank you. We go to the next slide. Right. That's multitasking.
I think we already have answers, sir. We have rest, procrastination.
Rest? Exactly.
Okay.
Well, rest is very important from time to time, of course. You do that. But you do not unnecessarily procrastinate. All right? So the correct word here is procrastination. Congratulations.
Congratulations to
Okay. And we'll have the final slide for this little game. I'm sure this is very familiar to you. Okay. Do you have guesses on the chat box?
There's an answer, sir. Vision, focus, goal. Vision.
Well, quite close, but not. That's not the exact word I'm looking for.
We have
but yes,
focus, sir.
But vision is similar. I mean, it's close to, yeah. Imagination,
perspective, objective, bird's eye view. even have bird's eye view po.
Yeah. All right. I'll give you a clue. No. It sounds like a supernatural power.
We have foresee, future, foresight.
Yes, exactly. That's
Okay.
what I'm looking for.
Congratulations.
As I said, it's not really a. It sounds like a supernatural power, but actually, it's not. No, it's a skill. It's a competency that you need in activity organizing, and even in practical life situations. I'm sure. All right. Thank you for your cooperation, for your answers. No. Okay, that's foresight. Sige. So let me further say something about myself, no. So that you would understand where I'm coming from, no. My biases as I do this seminar or webinar. My first experience in organizing was way back in early college years, no, when I became unofficially a moderator of a high school newspaper that published 4 times a year, no, quality and award-winning issues. And as a moderator back then, I facilitated the planning for the articles to be written per issue. No, the staff and I agreed on deadlines and the deliverables that they have to accomplish within the day or within a quarter. No, and I was very strict on deadlines. Uh, I made sure that we had very productive meetings as well. So my forte back then was news writing and copy reading. Uh, I'm sure some of you are familiar with copy reading and proofreading, no? So copy readers and proofreaders are trained to have um, yung eye for errors. So they are supposed to be meticulous. So I think I have mellowed in time, but I still use the skill, you know, when I review letters and proposals, etc. I was also a student leader, and I got heavily involved in activity organizing, and that also helped me in my administrative and supervisory role uh, in the past years. No, and I think supervising people so far has been the more difficult job to do compared to activity organizing. But the two things, no, should go hand in hand. Aminin natin, ano, lahat na mas mahirap i-manage ang tao kumpara sa activities. But it will also make you understand yourself better, no? Yung mga styles mo, yung tendencies mo, your rooms for improvements, and because of course, in activity organizing, in people management, you relate so much with people, no? You acknowledge that we have differences. We have different sets of interests, skills, backgrounds, attitudes. Okay, kung leaders, meron tayong kanya-kanyang mga leadership styles. Sa conflicts and sa mga problema, meron tayong kanya-kanyang coping mechanisms, ano, etc. Well, I think I have to tell you as well that before the pandemic, I was a traveler, and as one, I carefully planned for itineraries. And of course, I left some room for spontaneity naman. But it's in my nature, no, to plan. I listed down all that all that I need to bring, all that I need to buy, to borrow, from clothes to food to documentary requirements, and I researched a lot on how to have visas approved and to pass through the scrutiny of the immigration. I had uh, ready answers, talagang written down, and supporting documents just in case merong mga questions halimbawa sa immigration. And I learned a lot from from traveling. It sharpened my uh, the planning and the organizing skills. Okay, so that is where I'm coming from. No. Okay, so enough of my personal context. Let's begin to talk about organizing. And after my presentation, we will also uh, teach you how to make Google Forms, how to manage registration forms, how to make evaluation forms, how to automatically issue a certificate after accomplishing the form, and how to do Facebook and the YouTube live streaming. So, uh, and what to remember when you do webinars and other virtual activities such as this. We will give you some tips based on our more than a year of doing virtual activities during this pandemic. But of course, I have to tell you that we don't know everything. You may know more. You may know other things. Share them to us later on in the open forum. Okay. By the way, I will not touch on concept paper writing. That's a different topic, but that is a requirement in organizing. And for student organizations, that's a requirement for our online student activity application in the university. And perhaps we can do a separate workshop on concept paper making or writing at another time. Okay, I have a question. Um, what comes first to your mind when you hear or encounter the word organizing? Okay. What comes first to your mind when you hear or encounter the word organizing? One word only. Sige, we'll do this via Mentimeter. Vons, can you help me? Can you help me? Okay. So for this, you have to do this on another tab. You go to www.menti.com. Okay, and you use the code 6788163. Okay, when you do that, you give us your answers. So what comes to your mind when you hear or encounter the word organizing? Please participate in this another game. So, all right. So go to mentimeter.com and use the code flash on the screen. Tasky. Tedious. Pareho, no? Tasky, tedious, rigorous, siguro. Okay. Planning, facilitating. Those are activities in organizing. Communication. Okay, that's a must. Arranging. Okay, but at the center of it all is planning and managing as well, or management. Okay, assets which are part of the resources, for organizing. Assigning tasks. Mhm. Time management. All right. So we have very similar ideas on organizing, but again, the dominant thought, that comes to your mind when you encounter or hear the word organizing is planning. All right. Of course, you need to do planning in order to organize. Of course, you have if a second dominant one, now, which is management. Actually, management is the broader context of organizing. All right. Thank you so much. Actually, you can use Mentimeter to make your virtual activities more interactive and lively. Thank you again for your cooperation. Okay, let me go back to my screen sharing. Okay, let's proceed. What is organizing? Let's consider some technical definitions offered by three experts and authors of books on organizing. Let's have what Theo Heimann has to say. Heimann is a German, has masters in business administration, and an author of modern organizations in hospitals. And hospitals, like airports, have some of the most complex organizational structures and are very busy settings. Their daily operations are quite challenging to manage. According to Hyman, organizing is a process of defining and grouping the activities of the enterprises and establishing the authority relationships among them. In performing the organizing function, the manager defines departments and assigns activities so that they can be most effectively executed. Similarly, according to Louis Allen, an American management expert, organizing is a process of identifying and grouping the work to be performed, defining and delegating responsibility and authority, and establishing relationship for the purpose of enabling people to work most effectively together in accomplishing objectives. So for these two, organizing is about identifying departments and their activities and defining authority and responsibilities, again, towards accomplishing the purpose of the organization. Now, how about Oliver Sheldon, an American known for helping restructure the management and organization of some US companies? According to Sheldon, organizing is a process of combining the work which individuals or groups have to perform with facilities necessary for its execution, that the duties performed provide the best channels for official systems. Interestingly, Sheldon also takes into consideration the emotional and psychological needs of the people, not only their economic needs. Okay, so in summary, organizing is about the identification and classification of the required activities of the event or the project. It is about grouping of activities necessary for the attainment of objectives. It is about assigning each group to a manager with the authority necessary to supervise it, and the provision of coordination between and among the members and the committees or clusters formed. Okay, so in short, we can say that organizing is the function of management that involves an organizational structure and allocating human resources. So there has to be a structure and the line of authorities, and of course, you have to put people in the structure. Now, the structure of the organizations is a framework within which effort is coordinated, no? And you call this chain of command, no? And this chain of command will dictate the lines of authority and communication. So hindi pwedeng For instance, laging diretso na lang sa overall head. You have to respect the authority of the committee head. Uh, for instance, if you are a member of a certain department or committee, if you are the overall head, you first talk to the committee head if you have a concern about, say, a member of the committee. Okay? So organizing involves the design of individual jobs or duties and responsibilities and the manner in which the duties should be carried out. So pati yan dapat i-spell out. So dapat daw clear ang duties and responsibilities of each member of the human resource involved in an activity or project and kung paano gagawin yung trabaho. Hindi pwedeng ina-assume mo lang na alam na lahat ang kanya-kanyang trabaho or task nila. Okay? Organizing involves deciding how to best departmentalize or cluster jobs and responsibilities to coordinate effort effectively. Traditionally, we design uh, and delegate work through committees. Okay, and traditionally we have the following committees. Usually program, secretariat, logistics, technical, creative, budget or finance, sponsorship, ano pa ba, etc. No? If the activity is quite simple, well, some of these clusters or committees can be merged. Okay. Okay. So when you design a job, again, that is traditionally based on the principles of division of labor and specialization. Again, division of labor and specialization. Okay, let's have some examples. Halimbawa, di ba, the task of ideation, okay, and conceptualization or brainstorming during the planning phase of the project or activity. Normally, these things become part of the what? The program committee, di ba? Whereas yung halimbawa, establishment of linkages and networks usually goes to, say, sponsorship committee. Strategically, you put people where they should belong depende sa interest and skills nila. For example, if one member has great digital art skills, you put that person in the creative or design committee, not in the logis. Okay, those with experiences in operating the Zoom and doing live streams should be in the technical committee. That's the ideal. Again, we base job design on the principles of division of labor and specialization. Okay, so now, what is the purpose of organizing? Number one, organizing establishes a formal system of roles that people can perform so that the objectives may be met. No? People should have roles to perform. Minsan, in some organization, I observe when something has to be purchased, for instance, everyone goes to purchase that material. Pag may technical problem, everyone tries to troubleshoot. No, this should not be the case. There should be a technical person. No, there should be a runner. Everyone should have a role to perform. Again, roles. Okay. Next, organizing creates a clear environment so that everyone knows what to do what, who is responsible for what results. No, let me uh, reiterate that. No, everyone knows who to do what, who is responsible for what results. No, this means accountability, responsibility to remove obstacles to performance caused by confusion. Kanino bang task ito, no? And ensure certainty of assignment. Is this what I am really supposed to do in this project? To create an environment to achieve the efficiency of people toward the accomplishment of organizational goals. By doing this, we promote accountability and efficiency as well. So if something goes wrong in the invitations, communication with speakers, the supervisor or the head goes to the secretariat committee. Kapag may delay sa disbursement of funds, you do not go to the creative com. You go to where? The budget or finance com because that's their job. Okay. Now let me share to you the 4 P's of activity organizing or project management, which have to be clearly articulated. Number 1 is plan. Number 2 is people or manpower. Number 3 is processes, meaning yung mechanics of implementation. And power. This is very important because it talks about authority relationship or coordination lines. I would like to add platforms or technology which shall enable our virtual activities, especially during this time of pandemic. We have to have this resource or we have to invest in the necessary virtual platforms and technologies. Okay. If we are to conduct and to sustain our online communications and events. Okay? So 5 P's na po yan. Let's go to planning. Planning is the function in management that involves setting of objectives and determining a course of action for achieving those objectives. Objectives have to be clear, measurable, and practicable. So when you plan, you establish objectives or statements that need to be achieved and when. Formulate necessary steps and ensure effective implementation of plans. So when you plan, you actually attempt to forecast future conditions. Diba? Kasi hindi pa naman nangyayari ang activity, magpaplano ka pa lang. Halimbawa, magba-brownout kaya on that day. And therefore, may mga students ang hindi makaka-join sa Zoom or Gmeet or makakapanood ng Facebook or YouTube Live. May makakasabay kayong ibang activities ang project or event nyo and therefore, marami ang makikihati sa bandwidth allocation sa school kung saan hino-host ang Zoom or Gmeet and nagla-live stream. Posibleng maapektuhan ng internet stability. So you exercise foresight given the data that you have, given what you project to happen on the day of the event. So you identify already an alternative course of action. You do not wait for the possible problems or events to happen. Okay? Say, let's rethink the date na lang. Let's host the event sa ibang lugar kung saan malakas ang internet or walang kahati sa bandwidth. Let's do pre-recording na lang para we can still run the talk kahit na magka-technical problem ang speaker. So plans like those have to be done in response to projected problems. You evaluate the success of plans and take corrective action when necessary. You need to face certain realities and exercise flexibility and humility as well to adjust or correct certain actions. Okay. I hope that is clear. Now, let's discuss setting the objectives. Okay, objectives are very important. Okay, you cannot organize activities, you cannot implement them if you don't know what it is for. Okay, everyone should work towards accomplishing the objectives, no? So that they have to be crafted well, naiintindihan ng lahat, hindi vague, no? Walang masyadong rooms for interpretation and much discussion on the objectives. Lahat well-oriented kung ano ang ibig sabihin ng objectives and kung ano ang kanya-kanyang contributions nila, ninyo, to carrying out the objectives of your respective events or projects. So in crafting the objectives, you have to avoid motherhood statements. Ano ang ibig sabihin ng mga motherhood statements? Ito yung mga very general or generic na mga statements. Example ng motherhood statements. We would like to fight apathy of students. Diba? We want to make students feel that they belong in the organization. We want to promote world peace or peace in the city. Of course, those are good goals, no? But those are not specific objectives. Your activity will probably take a lifetime before you can achieve world peace, sad to say. And ang activities mo lang naman ay halimbawa 1 or 2 days. Ang project mo lang naman ay few weeks, isang buwan or a year. What can you accomplish in a day or two or in a week, di ba? Goals are different from objectives. Goals are usually derived from the mission vision of the organization and are generally or broadly worded. Example of a goal, no? Promotion of socio-political awareness in the university. No? That's a goal. But if you say increase the knowledge of Ateneo de Naga students on charter change proposal or produce an information material on the political and economic situation of the country in the year 2021. Now that is an objective. Objectives have to be smart. Okay, and many of you are very familiar with this. No? Smart. Number one, objectives have to be specific. So let's cite an example. Say your objective is to recruit new members in the organization. So medyo specific yan, no? But objectives should also be measurable. Okay, so how do you measure it? So we say increase the number of the organization's members by 100%. Oh, then you can already measure the results, no, at the end of the activity. Na-meet ba yung 100%? Okay? Objectives have to be realistic. Okay? So aside from being measurable, dapat realistic, feasible. Okay? O sige, 50% na lang para realistic. Increase the number of the student organizations members by 50%, hindi na 100%. Kasi baka imposible yung 100%. Okay? Sige. Objectives also have to be time-bound. Time-bound. Kasi nga yung activities, yung events nyo, yung projects nyo, time-bound din. Okay, it's not there forever or for years. Okay, so you say increase the number of the organization's members by 50% at the end of the semester. So that means you will evaluate the activity or project at the end of the school year. Okay, and you find out kung na-meet ba yung objective. Okay, na-meet ba yung 50% increase in the membership or hindi. Okay, so again, objectives have to be smart. I highly recommend that when you formulate your objectives, you start with a verb rather than a noun para mas active, no? Talagang for implementation. And be guided by the Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, the Bloom's taxonomy provides recommendations on the verbs that we can use in formulating our objectives. I-research nyo na lang po ang Bloom's taxonomy. Maraming resources niyan sa internet. Now, in terms of the number of objectives, I advise that you formulate 2 or 3 or even 4 objectives. No? That will do. For some organizations, they separate the official or the public objectives from the organization's internal objectives. For example, in organizing this webinar, an internal objective is that we want 75% of the recognized student organizations in the ADNU to be represented in the activity. Of course, we don't necessarily publicize that. That can be internal to the organization. But you put that in the official set of the objectives in the concept paper para known to all the members of the team and malagyan ng strategies and action plans to accomplish it. Okay. Now, now that you have the objectives, you have to determine how to plan. Okay? Gaano ba ka-detalye ang planong kailangan mong gawin? Diba? Siyempre, depende kung gaano ka-engrande or kalaki at komplikado ang activity. Mas simpleng activity, mas simple din siyempre ang mga plans. Okay. And then you have to carefully select the planning team. And in this time of the pandemic, you have to make sure that people with technical and creative skills get to be part of the team. Hindi pwedeng puro planners, okay? Otherwise, mahirap, kulang kung walang technical people, creative people, artists. So one solution to this is to train your people then on the necessary skills that they need, no, to adapt to the new normal. Okay? You also have to identify deliverables and create the work breakdown structure. Okay? Now, what is a deliverable? A deliverable is an expected output from an activity or task. If the activity or task is brainstorming on possible topics and speakers for a certain webinar, what is the deliverable here? Ano po? Of course, the actual list of suggested topics and speakers. Hindi pwedeng nasa isip lang ang deliverables. Output ito. So kung nag-brainstorm kayo, dapat may output kayo, may nailista kayong speakers and topics for your activity or project. Another example, no? Let's go back to the project. So the objective of that project, say, is increase the number of the student organization members by 50% at the end of the first semester of school year 2021-2022. Let's say the strategy is promotion among the first year students, okay? And the action plan, let's say, is you want to do a virtual orientation and recruitment session with the first year students. So that is your action plan or activity, not to accomplish the objective. So what are the deliverables? Okay, if you want to do a virtual orientation and recruitment for first year students, ano yung deliverables nyo? The invites, posters, PubMats, no? Reserved Zoom account, attendance results, etc. So these are your deliverables, outputs. Okay, outputs of your activities. kailangan may work breakdown structure din. Okay. So, like if you do registration of participants via Zoom halimbawa, or I mean via Google Google Form, what are the step-by-step breakdown of the work? Of course, first you design the questions or items to be answered. You also draft the data privacy notice, wag kakalimutan. You seek the approval of the draft. You create the Google form. You edit it if there are errors. You issue the Google form online along with a poster made by the artist. You monitor the registration. You make reports and give it to the group or committee concerned to help them assess whether the promotion is actually working. Okay, so step-by-step activity, okay, ang content ng breakdown structure of the work. All right. Next is identifying and estimating the resource requirements for the activities. When you say resource requirements, you refer to the manpower. Okay? Ilan bang tao ang kailangan mo to organize and implement the activity? The equipment needed. Do you need laptops? Ilang laptop? Video cam, adapters, lahat, no? Lahat i-list down mo. Okay? Lahat ng materials. And of course, the money, the funding that you need, no? The venues if it's face to face. Okay? Ilista lahat. Next is estimating that the time and cost of the activity. How long should the entire activity planning and organizing take place? No? How much does it cost? Okay. In Adno OSA, our rule is to have a 2-month organizing period for a webinar. So dapat 2 months before nakasulat na halimbawa ng concept paper, okay, ng plans for implementation in 2 months. For bigger activities, you need like more than 2 months. Minsan, no, may mga activities that we're asked to do, medyo biglaan. So, we just need to do it. And our experience normally guides us. The templates that we had done for the past virtual events, no, guide us as if our bodies have memorized it na. Right? Sigel. So let's go to developing the schedule. Okay. The schedule should include a timetable and deadline, no? Even allowance for the deadline. No? In the event that the original deadline is not met, you're still good, no? You can make a certain extension. Hindi pa rin maapektuhan ang kabuuan ng activity. But of course, as much as possible, you meet the deadline. You do not procrastinate. Next is developing the budget. When you do this, you actually canvas how much yung mga items to be purchased, saan mura, saan quality. No? So you list down items, the quantity, the price, and then the total. You know this already, I think. You also allot an emergency fund. 10%, 20 to 25% of the total budget should be allotted to emergency fund. Of course, I understand that for some organizations, this is not allowed or even possible because of resource limitation. So you just need to work within the budget that you have. Kaya importante ang pagpaplano ng budget, and right at the start, you should know this already, no? So you can be realistic with your plans. You may opt to do fundraising too, in accordance with your school's policies, of course. If you want more resources for some ambitious projects, okay? But you have to be careful of some risks. This would entail a lot more planning so you won't fail and para hindi kayo malugi. Sa Bicol, day ka mo mag-abunar para day mag-abunaran sa indong mga moderators, teachers, or the schools. Mapapagalitan kayo ng schools. Fundraising is not my forte. So I won't give you tips on fundraising or resource generation. That can be a separate workshop topic. But let me talk about risk planning. Risk planning. This is about plan B, plan C, and so on and so forth. This is about having an alternative plan or course of action. If something wrong happens, then we do this, we do that. Say if the speaker does not come, that then what are we going to do? Kapag nawala ang speaker sa ere or sa Zoom, sa Gmeet at hindi na nakabalik, di ba, yung inyong speaker or MC, ano ang plano natin? If we are unable to meet the target number of students or participants short sa registration fee for the food, this is what we're going to do. Ganyan. Hindi pwede ang bahala na. Di ba? Hindi pwedeng we'll just address the problem when it happens. Hindi pwede. We have to be prepared for any problems, for any eventualities. You will include in your plans measures to address such problems. Okay? Pag-uusapan nyo kung ano mga alternatives ninyo sa problema. Okay? Next is developing quality assurance measures. Kaya the role of management and supervision is crucial. Project leaders and committee heads should look into details. Signatories should not just sign papers. Hindi pwedeng pirma lang kayo ng pirma. Tapos may problema pala yung pinirmahan nyo. You have to check and double check. Well-crafted ba yung letter? Okay ba ang grammar? May na-omit bang dapat i-acknowledge? Maganda ba ang ginawang poster? Baka insensitive, kailangan baguhin. Baka mali ang spelling ng speaker sa certificate. Okay ba yung video and audio quality ng presentation? May credits ba yung pinost ninyo sa Facebook or sa YouTube channel? Sa Zoom setting, okay ba ang lighting? Baka need ng ring light. Kailangan yata i-enable ang noise cancellation feature o kaya gumamit ng mic condenser, etc. Okay. Detalye, kailangan ng detalye to actually develop quality assurance measures and to implement them. Sa mga virtual events, dry runs are very important for quality assurance and also to check for possible problems and address them beforehand. Okay, dapat pasadahan nyo from the preliminaries to the end of the program. Run and rerun video presentations kasi usually yan ang mga nagiging problema. Hindi pala hindi maka-share ng presentations, may problema yung video. So at some point, you just need to troubleshoot din, no? Kasi there are things beyond our control. So pwedeng mapagplanuhan kung anong pwedeng gawin to mitigate the problem. Okay? Next is gaining formal approval to actually begin work. So if you're a student org, of course, you follow the approval protocols of your schools. No? Dapat approved yan ng moderator nyo. Kung curricular organization kayo, dapat approve yan ng department or college nyo, ng OSA ninyo. No? The approval processes in our respective schools are different. Okay, just have the activity proposal approved first before you begin to work, not to avoid unnecessary issues and conflicts. Kasi some people, especially uh, administrators, can also be very sensitive, no? Um, and hindi lang ito for courtesy purposes, no? There is wisdom in the protocols. The school policies are not there to make your lives difficult. No, there are many considerations, and minsan students are too passionate and eager to just go ahead with their activities. No, but sometimes they don't realize certain situations and consequences of their actions. Like for now, in-person student activities are still prohibited according to CHED and IATF rules, but there are students who push for face-to-face activities. But we have to remember that health safety should be on top of our priorities. So paano kung nagkaroon ng infection during the face-to-face activities? Sino accountable dyan? Of course, yung school, unless hindi inaprubahan ng school yung activity. Accountable dyan yung mga estudyante. Okay? We need to exercise creativity on how to do things online. We also experience it when one organization, and I will not mention the name, this organization participated in a bidding process to make the university a venue for a national event without informing the school. No? Okay naman sana, diba, to actually host a national event, no? That's uh, going to be well appreciated by the school. But approval should have been secured first. No, why? So paano pala kung hindi available ang venues ng school on the date of the national event? And actually, that's what happened. This is just one consideration, marami pang iba. May mga naiisip ang school administrators, especially when they look at things institutionally, no? Na pwedeng wala sa considerations ng students. So we have to respect the policies. They are there for good reasons. Okay? So next is executing. Okay. Nasa implementation phase na to, no? To ensure that the project management plans deliverables are executed accordingly. Now, the output of this phase is the project or event deliverables. Okay? Monitoring and controlling. So managers and the supervisors do this. So monitoring and controlling consist of those processes performed to observe project execution so that the potential problems can be identified in a timely manner and corrective action to be undertaken. So monitoring and controlling answer the following questions. Where are we in the implementation of the project? So if this is the plan, where should we be at this moment? The schedule, dapat nasaan na tayo at this time? Ano na dapat ang na-accomplish natin? And how can we get on track again, okay, in case there are some delays in the deliverables? Okay. So as an office supervisor, these are my usual questions. Na-email na ba yung speaker? Kasi according to the timetable, dapat na-send na ito today. Kung may delay, why the delay? And what can be done to actually fast track it and to be on track again? Okay. So how do you monitor and control the project implementation? Of course, you conduct progress meetings. You meet your team. You can hold individual or group or committee meetings, no? And you regularly monitor the actual accomplishments of tasks vis-a-vis the plans. There are actually several online apps that will help you in monitoring. In the office, of course, we use Google applications, even mobile apps ng Android. No, there's this app called Notion. It's very helpful in our monitoring and supervision of the deliverables. And then, of course, you have group chats for specific projects. No, they help a lot. Actually, very practical yung communication in the chat. Okay. Now let me share with you some helpful tools in supervising. Okay. One is the Gantt chart. Okay. The Gantt chart is a type of bar graph that illustrates a project schedule. It shows the start and finish dates of the terminal elements and summary elements or work breakdown of the project. Okay. This one can be a bit complicated, but some people, especially professionals, use the Gantt chart, and even some students, I think, in the business or in the engineering programs, they use the Gantt chart. Okay, ang gusto ko lang namang i-share dito is that you should be aware of the start and then the finish dates of the crucial activities in the project. Okay, so that is an example of a Gantt chart. Okay, it looks like a calendar. And then you have the Pert, Program or Project Evaluation and Review Technique, or Pert. This is a statistical tool used in project management, which was used to analyze and represent the task involved in completing a given project. No? This is used in conjunction with the critical path method, or CPM. And what is a critical path method? It is the sequence of critical events that form a continuous path from start of the project to its completion. So if any in the sequence is delayed, the completion of the entire project will be delayed too. Kaya very important ang critical path method. So example, diba, you usually start with a writing of concept paper, to the invitation to speaker, to creation of PubMats, to invitation to participants and promotion on social media and other platforms, no, etc. You cannot make a PubMat if you don't have details about the title of the event, no, and the profile of the speaker. You cannot write the introduction of the speaker if you don't have a speaker yet, or the CV of the speaker. So in other words, for some work to begin, there are what? Prerequisites. Some tasks come and have to be completed for other tasks to begin work. Otherwise, mag-aantay yan sa'yo. Okay? Otherwise, you will encounter delay and the activity is bound to fail if the critical path method is not allowed or followed. Okay? Of course, your plan has to have the committees or departments involved in the project or activity. Okay, and you put there uh, the human resource, no, and their roles. So you have to have the overall head, the committee heads and staff, or a core group if you want. And then you have to specify their responsibilities. Okay. You have to include as well the activities of the committees or departments. And then from the activities, kailangan ilagay kung ano yung expected outputs or deliverables from the said activities. And then you have to spell out the resources needed, ano ang mga kailangan nila. Equipment, materials, training, etc., etc. Resources needed. And then, very important, you have to have a timetable and dapat may deadline din. Okay? And of course, you have to craft a budget and then the evaluation form, template. Okay? So these are just sample parts or details of a plan, and you can actually be flexible depending on the activity or project that you will do. Kung mas malaking at ambisyoso yung problema, then you can have all these and even more. Pero kung simple lang naman, you can just create few committees. Okay? You can merge some committees lalo na kung konti lang naman ang kanilang mga responsibilities. Okay. As to the size of the manpower, depende rin sa activity nyo. Of course, for smaller activities, you don't need a lot of people. Okay? Sometimes, pag sobrang dami naman ng members ng committee, minsan, hindi na ganun ka-productive, hindi ganun ka-manageable yung tao. In fact, minsan nabobore kasi konti yung activities or responsibilities. Okay, so you have to be flexible in designing the parts of your plan. Okay, so I stop here. I'll be sharing now with you a sample of a concept paper and a plan that we normally do in the Office of Student Affairs. So we actually did this for the alternative class program, which we implemented in the second semester of last school year. So let me now share with you this. Okay, this is a series of documents. So gusto ko lang ipakita sa inyo kung gaano siya ka-detalye, ano. But this one is suitable for bigger events or activities. So for instance, we have this concept paper, and you can see there it's approved. There is a proof, ano? There is a proof that it is approved. All right. So we normally do a background and rationale. Okay. And usually the goals, the more general goals are here. Okay. Background and rationale. And then we also do a write-up for the theme. Okay, for the theme of the activity. Okay. And then of course we include our sources. Okay, dapat hindi mag-commit ng plagiarism. All right, in doing or in writing concept paper. And then you have there the objectives, some specific objectives. Actually, we have specific objectives for resource speakers, for organizers, and for students as well. All right. Okay. Sige. So aside from that, syempre dapat merong for a while. We also do specific guidelines and mechanics of implementation. And dito, inarticulate na clarify na yung organizational structure. Sino ang overall head? Ano ang mga committees? Ano ang relationship between the committees and the people involved in the committee? Kailan magmi-meet? Ano yung approval process? Even certain formatting in communications is stated here. So talagang guided ang lahat ng members of the team on the structure, on the human resource, and some guidelines. And then we also spell out the specific duties and responsibilities of the committees. Okay? So ganyang kadetalye. Kumbaga sa organizing for the event, meron kayong Biblia, meron kayong reference material. So hindi siya come what may. All right? We also list down all the things that we need to buy, purchase, reserve, borrow, etc. Okay, and one thing more. So hindi doon nagtatapos yung detalye, in fact, we also do this one is very basic and quite important in organizing. Nandito na yung detalye. Actually, hindi to updated eh. Pero just to show you kung ano ang mga detalye na inilalagay namin usually. So you have there on the first column the committees and their activities. So ito program, that's a committee. Itong items under are actually activities, conceptualization of possible themes, and yung next column shows the deliverables, a list of options, themes, theme, title, draft proposal, outputs ito. Okay? And for the activities, ano yung resources needed? So, there. And you see here, makikita mo ang mga prerequisites. Kaya dapat the committees do their job and meet certain deadlines. Otherwise, may delay in the work of the other committees. So, merong implementation date or deadline, merong person in charge. And of course, the draft, this plan is a work in progress as you do the activities. So we put also some remarks, etc. So lahat ng committees included here, lahat ng kanilang activities, deliverables, etc. Right. For now, I'd like us to move forward with the second video. We will now be discussing about the importance and the competencies needed in organizing. Okay, so what makes organizing crucial or important in the implementation of your event or activity? Number one, it defines very well the jobs that the human resource will need to undertake. So you don't assume na gets na ni secretary or the secretariat committee head ang kanyang trabaho by mere title. No assumptions, okay? By organizing, we define the jobs and the duties and responsibilities of everyone involved in the event. Okay. Number two, organizing clarifies authority. Organizing defines the relationship between people, from the overall head to the committee head to the staff and with the moderator and the school administrators. We clarify the authority, the uh, the relationship between and among them in the performance of the the activity or event. Okay, so it clarifies authority. Number three, of course, when you organize, you do proper coordination. That's a given. No? And of course, there is effective administration when you do organizing. And as administrators, you have to have a tool for supervision. Okay, if you are the manager, the project head, the overall head, you have to have tools uh, or mechanisms for supervision. You have to communicate with your staff and push everyone to meet certain deadlines and deliverables. That's part of your duty. Organizing promotes specialization. So for leaders, organizing develops people management skills, diba? And foresight, etc. Okay, if you're part of uh, the program committee and you're tasked to do the concept papers, more likely when you experience it again and again, you become more skilled in writing over time. People in the logis further develop their detail orientation. Technical persons learn more about new technologies, platforms. Halimbawa sa amin yung webinar organizers, over the months and the year, no, during this pandemic, they have learned a lot of important technical skills because of experience, and they still learn some more as they continue organizing webinars and other virtual activities. So specialization, expertise is built or developed over time with the experience. Okay. Next is you get a sense of security, diba? Security that the activity will go well because nagpaplano kayo and nag-organize kayo. And that possible problem shall be addressed well because you have a plan, because your people know their jobs and what to do when this happens, that problem occurs, etc. Okay. And then there is learning and growth. People learn skills, gain confidence, learn how to deal with people, including administrators, executives in the schools and other organizations or agencies outside the school because you interact with them. Diba? You learn beyond theories and you balance being ideal and practical, di ba? Because your experience, ano, because you experience the real thing. Okay, you learn more about yourself and your styles in organizing, and you learn about others as well during your interactions, even um, during conflicts. Okay, you learn from them, from the experience. All right. So now, the next question is, what are the competencies needed in organizing? Okay. What do you need to build in yourselves in order to be better organizers? All right. So the first is communication. As organizers, especially as leaders, you have to communicate goals. Okay, you have to communicate goals. You have to communicate objectives. And being part of a team or a group, you have to know and work within the lines of communication then. Right. Next is foresight. Actually, this is my favorite skill or competency in organizing, foresight. This is not uh, a supernatural power. You you exercise this when you organize, and you develop them, through your experiences in organizing. So usually, uh, the way I exercise is by imagination. Okay. So when I organize an activity, I imagine details. Halimbawa, yung venue ng activity, kung face-to-face, I try to imagine it, no? And the details of the venue. Okay? What and where will be the venue of the activity? Okay? How will the setup be? Okay? Nasaan ang stage? Ano ang kanyang background? Uh, Nasaan ang podium? Nasaan ang LCD projector, ang laptop, nasaan? Ano ang arrangement ng chairs? Maglalagay ba ng decors, ng plants, saan? Ano ang possible problems? Halimbawa, when you try to imagine, ano ang possible obstacles or issues, okay, in the venue? Malayo ba ang CRO? O sige, we have to place directional signs for the guests to locate the restroom. So you imagine details, detalye that will help you develop your foresight, no, in organizing, because you become mindful of the specific needs and the possible challenges and the possible problems. All right. So that is what you call foresight. Next is actually intuition. No, you have to trust your gut. No? This is actually a product of experience again, and of course, common sense. So, but wag naman masyadong praning na kung ano-ano ang pwedeng mangyari sa event. Kaya lang hindi rin pwedeng very complacent ka. Ang importante, you prepare for some situations that can possibly affect the activity, and you already plan for a course of action to address them. Dapat may nakaredy kang course of action. Kapag ito ay nangyari, ito ang gagawin namin. Okay? Next is time management. This is actually very important. Because remember, you are not only student leaders. Okay? You are primarily students. And you have schedules for your classes, you have assignments, and you have projects to accomplish. And of course, may personal lives din kayo, no? So organizing your daily schedule, your weekly schedule, your monthly schedule is highly recommended. Sa isang araw, ilang oras ba ang pwede kong i-allot sa orgs, okay? And kailan ko to gagawin? Kailan ang aking mga free time? So you have to plot out your priorities in a day or a week. And kung saan nandiyan ang works, ang activities mo. And you try to stick to the priorities and to the schedules. Again, you do not procrastinate. Next is detail-orientedness. I think I have discussed this. So you have to list down, all the needs, okay, in the event. Okay, what to bring, what to buy, what to borrow, etc., etc. You list down everything in the plan para walang makalimutan. Another competency in organizing is flexibility. Kung walang problema, of course you stick to the plan, no? But if there are changes that have to be implemented due to valid reasons, then you exercise flexibility. Okay? Lalo na ngayong pandemic, maraming external factors affecting our plans. And so we need to make the necessary adjustments. And we just have to accept that. Okay. Next is troubleshooting. Leaders should be quick to spot problems and then prompt in addressing the problems. Okay. Kung malayo pang activity, then you have enough time to make that troubleshooting. Now, you can consult your core group or people with expertise no, in addressing a specific problem. No? But if the problem happens in the event itself, dapat mabilis ang response. Ano, of course, wala nang demokrasya. And kung sino ang magto-troubleshoot, dapat identified na yan. So, kapag technical, let the technical person in charge troubleshoot immediately without necessarily asking for approval or lengthy consultation. Okay? So, dapat may mga nakadesign ng alternatives. Okay? Uh, Halimbawa, nawala ang MC, saluhin ng substitute. Okay, wag na mag-antay kasi nasa plano na 'yan. Ang importante is naisip niyo na yung problema at nakaplano na kayo. Okay, halimbawa, napagplanuhan niyo na may substitute. Kaya kung mangyari yung problema, there is a substitute uh, who will address the problem immediately. Okay? And please don't panic. Okay? Dapat kalmado in addressing certain situations, lalo na if you are online. The participants, people will feel kapag may tension or kapag nararatel, hindi alam kung gagawin, confused yung organizers. They feel that. Okay? Basta ganito, no? Technical problems do happen in the virtual setup. So just address them appropriately and quickly. Okay, let me give you a problem, a problem to be solved. Okay, you have to troubleshoot this. Okay, so this is the problem. So your 2-day virtual conference begins tomorrow. Everything is supposed to be all set, except that the second day's morning speaker informed you that he cannot make it due to the death of a relative. What will you do? Next competency needed in organizing is resourcefulness, especially when you have limited budget and resources. We need members in our team who are resourceful, maabilidad and creative as well. Another competency is interpersonal skills. We have to talk to our team, communicate to them our goals, check on their challenges. Ano? Baka may pinagdaraanan na mental health challenges yung ibang members na kailangan na mas alalayan. So you have to be interested in your fellow members in the team, and you have to be sincere with them. You have to interact with them. Pwede namang magkumustahan sa Zoom or Gmeet, pwedeng mag-chat, no? Kumustahin lang ang ating mga members sa organization, sa grupo. Interpersonal skills. Next is multitasking skills. All right. Actually, some people say that this is impossible because you cannot do several activities or more than one thing at a time. Well, technically, you can say that, but the context of this is actually quite tied to time management. You have to uh, manage well your time vis-a-vis your activities, priorities in a day. Okay, as leaders, usually we cannot just do or focus on one thing in a day. You have to juggle between responsibilities, no, as a student, as a student leader, as a member of a family, even as a friend. No, you have to uh, put a balance in all your responsibilities and tasks in a day. All right, so multitasking skills. Next is modesty. So be honest with your limitations. No, be honest with your weaknesses, your rooms for improvements. You can even ask for help. Okay, kahit na kayo ang mga leaders and people see you as strong people, you can actually be very honest with your feelings, with your uh, vulnerabilities. You ask for help. It's okay also to do menial jobs. Modesty can also mean humility, no? Uh, wag masyadong, kumbaga, sobrang taas ang tingin sa sarili na dahil leader ka, you cannot do some menial jobs, no, like cutting papers, cleaning the venue, etc. Okay? Please exercise modesty. Next is motivational skills. Leaders should motivate their teams to perform well, to achieve the objectives. And one way to do this is to explain very well the importance of the activities to the organization and to the target participants or community. Okay, leaders, organizers should be able to convince their team members that the activity or the event that they will do is important. Okay. Leaders should also motivate their people, especially if there are members in the team who are uh, losing their interest or being discouraged, or if the event is facing difficulties or delays. Yan. Sa time na yan, dapat maging very sensitive ang leaders or organizers. And kung kailangan talagang mas i-motivate ang team to to just carry on and overcome the setbacks or problems in the organization. Creativity. This is essential in the new normal. Organizers have to recruit creative people in the team. Okay, they will be some of your greatest assets, the creative people. Just manage them very well, orient them on how their creativity can contribute to the organization and the event. Um, there are some artists, for instance, who are perfectionists. Okay, hindi sila tumitigil hanggat sa tingin nila hindi pa perfect yung kanilang work. Some people have their own sense of time, okay, and aren't very mindful of schedule. Yan. But as planners, we have plans, di ba? We have schedules, and so we have to let people understand the urgency of some matters. Okay, so there. That's part of managing and supervising people. Finally, digital skills. Digital skills are crucial, okay, in organizing, and therefore we have to look for people who have digital skills. We have to let them be part of our team. Otherwise, if we have a lack of this resource, we have to train our people. Mag-train tayo on how we can learn, navigate the new normal, the digital technologies needed in organizing and implementing virtual activities. Let me just say that I don't think that if you are a starter in organizing, you automatically have all these competencies, all these skills. Okay, you actually learn and pick up the organizing skills as you experience it. So kailangan ng pasensya, kailangan ng hard work to earn those skills, those competencies. And if you're a starter, it would also be good, and actually it's crucial to have a good team. No, if you aren't very creative, then you look for people who are creative. If you aren't a very technical person, okay, hindi masyadong marunong sa digital technology, then you look for those people who can complement each other's abilities. Okay, sige. Um, Allow me now to share with you some tips in conducting um, virtual activities. Now let me share this. All right. So these are some of the tips that we can give you as gathered from our experiences from in doing virtual activities for more than a year now. Let me just go to them very quickly. But first, let me say that you have no control of all factors and situations. For some, uh, no, for some problems, you just need to exercise foresight, do risk planning, and respond to the situation promptly and calmly. Okay, you have to accept na you have no control of certain factors and situations. And maraming example niyan. Minsan sa internet, natural disasters, um, uh, ano pa, power interruptions, etc. Okay? Next, so what do you do? What preparations should you do before the virtual event? Number one, do not just rely on social media for promotions. You may be tempted na gawin lang ang lahat ng promo, ang PubMed sa social media. Optimize. You have to optimize all the available platforms and communication lines to promote your virtual activities. You use your email system. Okay, mag-email kayo sa lahat ng estudyante nyo or sa target participants nyo. You post on online classrooms if allowed. No, you share info in group chats of organizations. You ask the organizations, your fellow organizations, to post in their respective social media accounts to help you promote. One thing that you should also observe and discover is, when is the best time to post on social media. Dapat madiscover nyo ito. If you have Facebook accounts, for instance, observe when the greatest number of student members or followers are online. Sa Ateneo, for instance, we know that 1:30 or 2 p.m. is the best time to post on Facebook. 10:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. are also good schedules. Also, please refrain from sending emails in the in the wee hours. Some people would find it unethical, actually. Also, please check your announcements and email texts. Okay, check for grammar errors, etc. Ask your speakers to do pre-recorded videos of their presentation. This is a lifesaver. Actually, ito ang ginawa ko because alam ko na may power interruptions ngayon and posibleng magkaroon ng problema. So in the event that your speaker disappears from Zoom or Gmeet, the organizers can still play the recorded videos. No? You're lucky if the invited speaker agrees, no? Because recording is an added task But if you want this, you have to make the specific request in your invitation letter at the start pa lang. Okay? Hindi yung few days before the event. Alright? Kasi more likely, sasabihin niyan, wala na siyang time to do the pre-recording. Next is, as for the speaker's presentations, in advance, no? Again, kapag nagka-problema ang speaker sa pag-share ng kanyang presentation, which happens many times, ano, the organizers can do the sharing. That way, you will avoid long delays and kumbaga problema in the transitions during your virtual activities. Of course, you need to check internet connections. Okay, hindi lang connection nyo, pati yung uh, capacities ng inyong devices. You check whether your devices actually support live streaming features. Further, halimbawa, yung MC, yung device ba ng MC allows a Zoom background kasi may mga laptop that does not allow virtual background in Zoom. So, you also have to check, you have to check your invited speakers or presenters internet connection and if they are familiar with the selected online platform features. If necessary, orient them on how to use or navigate the online platform and on some guidelines. Halimbawa, yung audio and video quality, noise cancellation feature, background, etc. So if not, think of an alternative. Example, if the speaker's residence is near the school, you may want to set up a room in the school with strong internet for the speaker, or you explore with the speaker possible options. Makipag-usap kayo sa speaker. Be transparent and be honest with the problems you're going through. Okay, next is always do a dry run. I repeat, mag-dry run. Whether in face-to-face or online setup, gawin ninyo ang dry run. Okay, you have to check for possible technical issues or problems. You have to run the script of your MC, coach your MC if necessary, no? And you run the slides or your PowerPoint and your videos. Always assign substitutes or alternatives for MCs, halimbawa, for technical operators, sharers of presentations, dapat may substitutes or alternates kayo for them. And consider their internet connection and devices as well. They have to be in the dry run, they have to be oriented, and the substitute MC should have the script too, no? Otherwise, in case the MC encounters a technical problem during the event, your activity will be delayed and the transitions shall not be very smooth, right? Next is you have to assign specific roles in the virtual activities. Sino ba ang host? Sino mag-accept ng participant? Sino magre-record? Sino mag-share ng mga presentations? Who will gather questions? Who will document? Who will share evaluation link, etc.? Okay, so by assigning roles, we will avoid confusion on who to do the tasks. Sa Bicol, pag bakong klaro, pwedeng magturukduan or magharalatan kung si say ma-perform ng task. Okay, stressful ini sa mga organizers. All right. Next is you have to assign someone or a committee to collate all digital documents in the flash drive and the cloud, no? And this is now your filing system. So and a way to document yung sharing. All right, you decide who will have access to the documents, who can just view them, who can edit some documents. Depende, no? Depende sa role and authority nila in the organization or event. Okay. Explore or normalize document sharing and collaboration. Also, meron ba kayong mga e-signature nyo or wala pa? You can opt to actually create your e-signature but secure it. Hindi pwedeng yung pinapahiram nyo yung e-signatures nyo. Otherwise, baka mamroblema kayo later on, no? And I advise that you only sign on PDF documents, not yung Word documents. You include a data privacy notice in your Google Forms. There are samples on the internet. Okay, i-search nyo na lang to. Observe data privacy because um, you will do a lot of Google Forms and will ask for personal details. You have a responsibility to safe keep the data, make the data highly confidential. Do not use the data for your personal interest, ha? Baka halimbawa may crush kayo na participant tapos kinuha nyo na yung number from the registration. Wag naman po. Ano po? Next is check announcements or scheduled power interruptions. Like ngayon, sabi ko nga may scheduled interruptions ng electricity sa Naga City, but the announcement came I think few days before, no? This is highly important. No? In Camsor, for instance, we have an almost weekly power interruption. No? But the problem is that there are times when the announcement is posted a few days lang before the event. So you have to decide quick, no? For instance, if your target participants will mostly be affected by the power interruption, you have to consider rescheduling kapag ganon. Kaya in the planning, dapat maglagay din kayo ng alternative date, all right? Same thing with weather disturbances. Kapag may typhoons, well, you have to check weather forecasts. Okay. Sige. So, and then during the event, we highly recommend that you check your internet connections and your device's power connections and chargers during the day and minutes before the start of the activity. And there are several speed test apps available naman. Check your audio and video outputs. You check your background. Baka may clutter or may di dapat makita online that will put you in hot water, no? So be very careful. You check your files and make sure that you have backup files in other storage devices and that the set files are the updated ones. You share it also to the other people in the team, no? Para hindi lang isang may hawak ng updated files. And then, you orient the participants on some online etiquette. Right. You test share, no? You have to test share your slides and videos a few minutes before the program starts. Actually, karamihang sa mga problema sa virtual activities ay yung sharing and playing of videos. So, take note of this. Have a standby generator, no? Like ngayon, meron kaming standby generator. You have to fully charge your batteries, use a UPS for your devices, including the internet router kung nasa bahay kayo. Have a backup laptop and other devices and equipment. Record your virtual activities and you may post them actually in your YouTube channel or Facebook account in case you're not a live streaming. All right. You may also consider live streaming. No, if you want your online event to be more accessible, and if your Zoom or Google Meet are not premium accounts and cannot accommodate more than 100 participants, you do this. Now, if you are not very confident about your internet bandwidth and you want the Zoom participants to be exclusive, no, you may opt to invite in Zoom your speakers, reactors, organizers, and staff, and some selected individuals lang. Ano po, para hindi mabigat yung Zoom, and then just provide live streaming for your general audience. Okay, just assign someone to take care of the monitoring of the social media audience's behavior and then the questions. Okay, Some social media viewers no can be very unruly, especially sa Facebook. They post unrelated comments on the live stream comment thread. Nagkukumustahan sila or napaka-unrelated minsan ang pinopost nila. So please monitor, and the teachers and the SAS staff can also help in the monitoring because they have some authority. No? Also, even if they are not on Zoom or Gmeet, you can still gather comments naman and questions from them. You have to decide the setup that will best respond to your objectives. So, for smaller audiences and for more intimate and interactive activities, just use the Zoom or Gmeet. No? For wider reach, you do live stream or both. Okay, and I also advise that you do interactive activities during the online activities. May games, pwedeng mag-live polling. Okay, pwedeng ang mag-play ng mga pre-recorded song or dance performances. Nasa sa inyo yon. And also add a Q&A portion. No? Engage the participants in the chat. And you can also explore breakout groups. Okay, sa Zoom meron yan. Okay, and then after the virtual event, do not forget to evaluate. You have to learn from your experiences, no, and you use the evaluation results, okay, from your previous virtual activities to the current activity you're organizing. Finally, invest in digital technology. If you have budget, you can purchase your own organization's account, no? Or the OSA in your school can do this. You can also purchase the essentials in virtual activities, no? Kahit pa konti-konti kung limited ang budget. Kasi we need the technology, no? That the pandemic is still here and the new normal is expected to stay. Even post-pandemic, I think, no? I think it will still be a mix of virtual and limited face-to-face activities. So I think I will end here.